Good morning. Thank you for joining us. We're in for the big issues. My name is Al-Hassan Andani from Malashegu in Tamale. And talking about Malashegu, I want to say good morning to some great people. I know in Tamale, Aisha Gomda, great friend of mine. And then also Salifo Combat. You are in Boko alongside your wife Flora. And we hope that there will be, as we mark Ghana month, a lot of peace in Boko, Pusiga, Zabila, Garu, Tempane, and many of those areas there. But Ghana month has 5 Fridays, and we intend, especially on the Fridays, to give you great programming right here on TV3Newday. What you need to do is to make sure that you get interactive. Before you do that, get onto social media. So I expect that even though we're talking tradition, but we have to mainstream it in modern times. Take modernity intertwined with tradition. So go for your phones or your devices. Get onto TV3 Ghana. We're launching Ghana Month formally today. And throughout TV3 Ghana's pages today and the rest of the month, as far as this is related, you have to make sure you touch base with us. It's also same for 3FM 92.7. And you know the great Johnny Hughes, who is the man of the people, bringing Johnny's Bites, and the people's bites is always available. Make sure you tune in. We're talking TV3 Ghana, 3FM 92.7 on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube, and get the latest. Well, I have a former member of parliament who apparently also happens to be an installed traditional ruler. Daniel Kwate Titus Glover. Daniel is his Christian name. Glover, as it's been hyphened with the traditional Ghana name, is his English Ghana name. But good morning, you have a traditional name. What's your chieftaincy name?
I have 3 of them.
Hey, welcome to.
Let me say good morning to our viewers, your good self.
Thank you.
Bihekan. And my brother.
Another Bihekan.
Another Bihekan. Honorable Kofi.
Yakwema.
Adams.
Hey, me.
And I can see Cookie far away in the corner.
The beautiful.
Gorgeously.
Today I saw her
dressed,
nice legs.
And my kid sister Bella Mundi. In the typical Ghana
another nice legs. I didn't know.
When you go to Sankana, in the Nadole Kaliu district, Nadole Kaliu district, Nadole Kaliu district, they were the first to install me Siambongna, that is the king of the caves, in April 1999.
Congratulations.
Same year in September, Kwapin Mampong, traditional area on the Kwapin Ridge, also installed me as Sumkahini, Nano Tuansan the first. Then in this October, November 2020, the Dagomba community in Tema also installed me Dantalisina or Dantaliga. That is the pillar.
Dantaliga.
Yeah. By the Dagomba community headed by their chief in Tema.
Right.
So I'm so grateful to these great ethnic groups. I'm a Ghana, but the question is how come they all
I wanted to ask that.
Find out that it's because of my exploits, my good things I'm doing around.
Even before you became
2019.
2019.
Right. So I'm grateful to all of them.
They say a prophet is not
honored in his own
home. So that's you are just living testimony of a prophet not being honored.
3 traditional names.
Yes. And a former member of parliament for Tema. He's a former deputy minister of transport, served his country so well. I wish that he was still in government, but I'm sure that your time will come. I've seen that a lot of names are being bandied around for reshuffling. Maybe you go for some ministerial position. You can, and well, he's a bit under the weather, but try to make sure that he's here because he's a regular. We're grateful.
Thank you.
Daniel Kwate Titus Glover. Dantaliga.
Means pillar.
The member of parliament without a chieftaincy title
he will soon be.
The member of parliament for Boehm. And he comes from the Oti region, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Just adjourning what we expected to have been a constituency, the Sal area. We're talking about Santrokofi, Akpafu, Likpe, and Lolobi. You know that TV3Newday went there as well. One of many efforts to reach out to our own traditional people. And the Member of Parliament for Boeim is Mr. Adams. How are you?
Well, they say we are fine.
They say we are fine. And I'm expecting that you representing the people of Boeim in the period of Ghana Month on TV3Newday, you will be given the chieftaincy title very soon.
Well, there have been a number of offers, but
you have decided
to decline
for now. You need to get older and wiser, and then you can take the chieftaincy title, like Daniel Newquate Titus Glover has done. But this is what we're going to do. We encourage you always at the hashtag TV3Newday, TV3 Ghana Month. As you go search for TV3 Ghana, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. As you do that, our main issue we want to talk about is the argument about whether a constitutional instrument that has been put before Parliament of Ghana should be approved, which will only have the Ghana card as the sole document identifying you as a Ghanaian of 18 years and above to be a registered voter onwardly, okay, for the 2024 elections and beyond. Now, let's have a recap what transpired when we had the chair for the Electoral Commission of Ghana, Madam Jim Mensah, addressing them.
And therefore, if people came in using their passports or came in through the window of the guarantor system or used their Ghana card, those who came in using the passports or the guarantor system cannot be classified as illegal, because at the time it was the law. Under this law, we are saying that you cannot come in through the guarantor system or use a passport to prove your citizenship. The guarantor system is more robust because they have persons who come through swearing an oath, whilst we don't. Secondly, those who serve as guarantors have their details attached to the registrant's application.
Well, that said, we have to go to those making the argument. Why, after spending millions of Ghana cedis to compile a database system known as the National Identification System, we shouldn't be using that as the source database for the next elections in 2024? Kofi Adams, you and your minority and those within CSOs, within the political space, within the public space, making an argument that we need an additional means by which we can have onwardly people registered. What's your main point of argument so far?
Well, thank you for the opportunity and good morning to you all. I must say, this morning reminds me of one solid advice my late dad gave me. In a quiet morning one day when he invited me into his closet. He said, in this life, expect less from people and more from your own self. In this life, expect less from people and more from yourself. In other words, never plan your life basing it on the performance of others, but plan your life based on what you yourself can do. And I have since, growing up, lived with that ethos of always expecting less from even the people you take care of. Don't expect them to reward you in same manner that you are doing. So you don't get distracted or you don't get disturbed when they fail to.
Why are you citing this?
I'm citing this because you have an electoral commission that way back in '92, during the referendum time, we queued and voted for a constitution. And in that constitution, we guaranteed certain rights for electoral commission. And these have been vividly captured in provisions like 47 through all the way down to 51, which gives them the mandate, the right, the authority to develop regulations to effect provisions under rights to vote, like Article 42. Article 42, which defines the right of a Ghanaian to vote. The Electoral Commission has been given mandate to bring effect to these provisions of the 1992 Constitution. Over the years, from the interim National Electoral Commission that we had for the 1992 elections, through to the first Electoral Commission under the 92 Constitution from 1993, later to be chaired by Dr. Kojo Afarijan, till Madame Charlotte Osei came in, have performed creditably well to enable Ghanaians perform this function. The Commission today is embarking on a journey where the chair of the Electoral Commission and its members are expecting more from somebody other than themselves.
How do you mean?
Yesterday, as part of her answers to many questions thrown at her, some that she deliberately avoided, she said, the guarantor system of another institution is more robust than hers. So because of that, she's abandoning hers. That's her only reason. And go for another one.
Which guarantor system of which is due?
That the guarantor system embedded in the Electoral Commission's CI 91 as amended by CI 126 is less robust than the guarantor system in the National Identification Authority regulations that governs its activity. The EC chairperson is not seeking, according to her, to throw away the register as constructed in 2020, meaning that persons who registered with that less robust guarantor system, according to her thinking, will still be in there. If your problem is that your guarantor system is not as robust as that of National Identification Authority, what do? Moving forward, you make yours as either more robust or as robust as that of NIA.
Good argument.
You don't decide that because yours is less robust as it exists now. You are throwing your guarantor system away and going to adopt a card issued by another institution because in their guarantor system, you swear an oath before a commissioner of oath. That is the only basis upon which he's saying that that guarantor system is robust. In the Electoral Commission registration arrangement, you have party agents and other civil society present. So if you add the presence of a commissioner of oath, your system will now become more robust than even the NIA system. Because in your system, after one has produced all the documents that you are talking about, there are other persons, citizens, any other person, including party agents, who by law can be present, can still challenge the registration. And so when your registration is challenged, you have to now appear before the District Registration Review Committee to further prove your qualification. But in the case of NIA registration, there is nobody sitting in their office or even registration centers to challenge the information so provided by a registrant.
And your argument in relation to this is?
So my argument is that if it is just the absence of a commissioner of oath, what the Electoral Commission should be seeking to do is to amend the schedule of CI 91 as amended by CI 126 and introduce the presence of a commissioner of oath to the guarantor system. You don't abandon it and say, I am going for another one. It's like you said, your next door neighbor cooks with charcoal, so the food tastes better. So instead of also looking for charcoal, which is available, you decide that you will no more cook any food. You will go and be feeding from the pot of your opponent all the time, and that every food stuff that you get should be sent to the opponent.
Well, Mr. Kofi Adams, somebody will also argue that in all this, I mean, if the Electoral Commission is putting forward an absence of a guarantor system, but only using a Ghana card, you just make sure that every Ghanaian living everywhere gets a Ghana card. Because there's already an assurance by the NIA that
I would come to that. You make laws to cure a defect.
Well, that's true.
What is the defect identified here? The defect identified here by the chair of the Electoral Commission is that their guarantor system is not robust. That's the defect identified. So in making laws to cure a defect, you don't create another defect. Because you must be guided by the constitutional provision of Article 42. I don't know whether, with your permission, if I can read.
Please, you can. I'm having the constitution here as well.
42. Or maybe you can help us by
so
reading
it says
it
the
so
right
that
to vote, and it's on representation of the people in Chapter 7. Every citizen of Ghana of 18 years of age or above and of sound mind has the right to vote and is entitled to be registered as a voter for the purposes of public elections and referenda. How does this come in here?
Thank you. So every Ghanaian, 18 years and above, and of sound mind, is entitled to vote and therefore must be registered. What the Jimensa Commission is trying to do is to say that if you are a Ghanaian and you are of sound mind, and for whatever reasons, including financial and other challenges, you do not have a Ghana card, your right to vote and being entitled to be registered is denied. Your right to vote, which is guaranteed in the 1992 Constitution as the first provision under representation of the people, is denied just because you do not have a Ghana card. And like Dr. Kojo Afarijan has always said, that your non-acquisition or holding of a Ghana card does not take your citizenship away from you.
Well, that's true.
And if your non-possession of a Ghana card does not take your citizenship away from you, The Electoral Commission, which is responsible for compiling the registers of voters, must not go for a system that will automatically deny persons who would not have that card. Already, Roland, we know of the challenges that the NIA is confronted with. One, per their report yesterday, almost 700,000 persons who have registered have not had their cards printed. Almost another 600,000 who have had their cards printed have not had access to these cards. The NIA says they have printed those cards, but the NIA is unable to either find the owners of these cards, or the owners, for whatever reasons, have not been able to travel to the offices of the NIA to be able to go through the verification process to receive those cards. That is almost another 600,000. Per their own data they provided us yesterday, persons 18 years and above, per the 2020 Statistical Service data, almost 3 million Ghanaians are yet to be registered. So if you add all these numbers together, you are talking in a range of about 4 million plus, who, for one reason or the other, have not gotten their cards yet. The NIA recently complained that 3.5 million of their cards are locked up somewhere because of indebtedness. They are indebted to service providers and so on and so forth to the tune of $117 million, not cedis. $117 million. Per the Finance Ministry's report to us yesterday, they have released only 100 million Ghana cedi to them. Let's use Bank of Ghana conversion rates even to calculate this 100 million. Let's not go for the Forex Bureau rate of even maybe 13 cedi or 12.8 in other places to calculate. Let's use Bank of Ghana rate that is ranging between 9 and 10 cedi to $1. That is just about maybe $11 million. You take $11 million out of 117 million, you are still left with about what? 106.
But yesterday the finance minister was there. Yeah,
I'm saying that you owe 117 million. You have only been able to pay 11 million. You still have 106 million to pay for debt. We cannot make laws based on assurances
and assumptions.
Even the NIA itself says when these funds are released, they may. He used the word may. And I will not be called upon to make a law based on assumptions. Assumptions that you are not sure will be delivered. And part of the assumptions that even when they are delivered, you do not have a guarantee that they will be able to produce the cards and for the persons to be able to pick the cards. And so it is dangerous to travel that journey. Another point that is worth mentioning is that she said she wants to embark on continuous registration. In CI 91, which was passed in 2016, the provisions as captured in that CI 9.1 and 9.2 were the same words verbatim that were copied into the draft CI that the EC is proposing now. Meaning that there's already provision in the existing CI for continuous registration. Roland, what you do is to engage your previous commissioners who developed that regulation to find out what was the basis for writing that law or bringing that CI to Parliament to be passed. Jane didn't do that. She had her own mind, she had her own interpretation. To that very provision, she has copied verbatim and placed in this new draft CI. I know you want me to wind up, but I want to tell you, we went through a number of processes. One of such processes leading to this provision in CI 91, which is existing, was sponsored by IEA when we met at Capital View Hotel in Koforidua to discuss the issues of continuous registration and how we want it done. Continuous registration was never to replace the normal registration exercises that is done. And I know as the program rolls on, I would provide you with a lot more information on this matter.
And Mr. Titus Glover, if you look at the assurances that were given by the chair for the Electoral Commission, we also do know that despite those assurances, there have been a number of actions by the National Insurance Authority in the issuance of Ghana cards.
National Identification
Authority, i.e., what transpired in the SIM card registration last year, where we have individuals who had Ghana cards. Their Ghana cards got missing, and they had to queue hours on end, weeks on end, and they were still not provided. 2, people who had never registered for a Ghana card were not provided. 3, access to centers. And here now, we're talking about even people in the remotest of regions. Sometimes we can go to villages in which, for example, we have to travel far before we get to a district electoral commission office. If the argument being made by Madam Jim Mensah should hold, it could lead to people within a period where there's supposed to be a continuous registration not able to access Ghana card and subsequently go and register.
Thank you so much, Roland, for this background. And once again, good morning to all your viewers. I will start in an attempt to respond to this concern. Let me say that I want to register profusely the conduct of some of the minority members towards the Electoral Commissioner yesterday at the Committee of the Whole. And I'm sad that my own brother was figured out, Honorable Mutala, to use of the word shame. At a point, the Right Honorable Speaker have to draw his attention to withdraw and apologize for the use of the word shame on Madam Jean Mensah. Whether we like it or not, if you have issues with her and her commission, that is the more reason why you've subpoenaed her to come before Parliament. So that all the tinting challenges that you foresee happening, both of you, Parliament and the Electoral Commission, can look at it and address it. I'm really enjoying the position of my brother, arguing forcefully with the challenges of the NIA. But you know what? There's a saying in Akan that utu edrobonia ebiba kawano.
And how does that come in?
I'm coming. When the NIA was about to do the registration, their own political party, if you recall, under then General Secretary Seningitia, issued a statement that NDC members should not go and take part in it. They made a statement that they should not take part in the registration of the NIA. When you were talking, I was quiet. So cool down and let me flow. You made a categorical statement that your people should not go.
And so?
My own brother, Jata, Sam George, I don't know if he has he has been taking it. Haven't you heard him? That he will not take the Ghana card? You see, some of these things, it doesn't help. When President Kufuor started the NIA, and we left office, NDC took over 8 years. 8 good solid years, what did you do? You did nothing. No budgetary support, no single NAI card was ever produced in 8 years. So if under Akufo-Addo,
please.
No, you can't come in. Please. No.
This is a vital
no, please.
Well, yesterday, 4 million. We're told that 4 million were issued.
Look,
so
4 million for 8 years.
Yesterday,
for 8 years.
Yesterday, Professor Kenatefa said 4 million in excess.
Okay, granted.
I think we all heard the money.
Okay. Let me add.
So that argument about not a single card.
Okay, now you were able to produce 5 million cards in 8 years. And under 6 years and 2 months, Atefa has produced how many? 70 million? I agree that there are challenges. If you have produced more, if you have done much, we only come to add up to what we are going through. We'll only come to complement what you have started.
How does this come in here?
I'm coming.
Because explain.
I am talking about your inability to do your best in your time.
Therefore, what has that got to do with people getting to register?
Kofi Adams was flowing like River Jordan. He was flowing. You never interrupted him. I'm doing my analysis. So please allow the viewers to listen and watch me.
Don't compare.
I am talking about your inability to produce as much as you can.
And I'm saying
your
what has that got to do with
to produce enough budget to produce as much as you can.
I understand.
But under Akufo-Addo, under Professor Tefa, 70 million cards have been produced. I admit that there are challenges. And for that matter, there are people, without due respect, who have had their cards produced, but getting these cards is a challenge. They know the places where they went and registered. It is a duty of the NIA to go back to all the places. They must make public announcements.
Mr. Titus,
they must pass it through the assemblies.
Mr. Titus Glover, there has been on public record, even though Professor Kenatefa appeared before Parliament yesterday giving assurances, in which during the SIM card registration of last year, he said the NIA was not set up to be doing real-time registration and card production, but was supposed to have been done in phases. These are accompanying the fears that the minority, other connoisseurs within the political space have, that they are not saying don't use Ghana card, but solely identifying only Ghana card to use and not complementing it with other means of registration is problematic.
If you have taken your time and allowed me to flow, I will have responded to this your concern you are asking me.
I think I just told you.
That is why you want to jump the gun, and these sometimes some of your mischief that you want to do.
No, it's not mischief.
So please
this strategy won't work today.
Allow me to flow. And I'm saying that in as much as the NIA has challenged, whether financially, technically, or whatever, there is an opportunity to cure all these what do you call it, these challenges that they are going through. Look, I had an auntie who lived in Takrady. Unfortunately, she's no more. Growing up as a young boy, we have a family in Côte d'Ivoire, and once a time, when she's on vacation, she goes to Côte d'Ivoire. The whole Côte d'Ivoire nationals, they have what they call quarantine. If a known Ivorian, you go to town, you'll be questioned whether you have that card. It is similar to what we have here in this country. It is a way of trying to distinguish between a non-Ivorian and Ivorian. That must be established. Now the guarantor system, which has been a window of abuse for potential voters, and I'm happy he quoted 42, the right to register and vote in any public elections or referenda. I have no problem there. People come around when they are doing registration. Kofi knows. In my mother's house in Site 10, our house number is 1/D72, Site 10 come to 1. My polling station is Jurassic Primary B. People move around the communities and look at people's, what do you call it, house numbers.
And so? And
they go and use it to register as what they call it, as means of address in the procurement of national, what they call it, electoral commission ID card. So the abusing system of this one is what we're trying to avoid.
But the National Identification Authority in itself... No, but let me establish it. The National Identification Authority itself has even publicly announced prosecution of people who are in possession of Ghana cards who are not Ghanaians.
Roland, please allow me to come in and flow. You see, when you truncate my thoughts, you confuse me. You're not making it difficult for me. I only want to establish the fact that there is an abuse in the guarantor system. And the way of trying to cure that guarantor system is the use of the Ghana card. Now the NIA is telling us that they have a challenge. And what are these challenges? The challenge is about funding, because they have 3.5 million cards that has not been locked up because they owe their creditors. Out of 170 million, I think few of the monies have been paid. Yesterday, the finance minister was around. He said, look, I'm going to make
the finance minister who has taken us to the IMF.
The finance minister said, look, I want to make funding available to you. I agree that, look, travel all over this country.
You trust the words of the finance minister? Why not? Taking us to the IMF.
Why not I trust him?
We have statutory payments that we have
stop this, your mischief. He's not helping.
Is it a mischief?
Why? What is this?
Is there no evidence
when you are
to show
talking,
that?
he's quiet. And he allows you to flow.
No. I say,
and the man you invited three people.
Sorry.
The electoral commissioner, the NIA boss, and the minister for finance. And the NIA boss has established the fact that, look, generally we have a concern and we have a challenge. The finance minister said, this week, he's going to make funding available for you. So all those whose cards are in there that has not been collected, all those cards that has not been registered, after these monies are received, they will have the opportunity to go back. I have a problem, and I want to agree with Kofi to some. In fact, you, when you said that the use of the EC office, district offices, to register in terms of the continuous registrations, I agree that we need to decentralize it to some point. When you take a constituency,
so you're agreeing with the minority,
it's because you want to interject. That's why you don't want to listen to me. So cool down for me. You see, when you go to a constituency like Wale Wale, you have a constituency like Wungu. From Wungu, you go all the way to Pasengbe. The distance from Wungu to Wale Wale is not that far, but from Pasengbe coming back to Wale Wale is a long distance. Apart from Pasengbe, there are other people in the hamlets, in the villages, that will come, look for vehicle and come to Wale Wale district to come and register. It's a problem. So I want to see a situation where some of these things can be decentralized. Do you understand? When you go to Wa West, the district capital is called Wuchao. From Bole going to Wuchao, you get to Ga, the town called Ga at the junction on the Bole Wa Road. When you enter going to Wuchao, it's not going to be easy. So how do we look at trying to resolve some of these things to make sure that people are not denied these cars for them to register? Now come to the issue of the electoral commissioner. I agree with Kofi on Article 42, the right to register and vote. And when you go to 45, it talks about the functions of the electoral commission. And when you come to 46, it also tells us about the fact that nobody can subject the thing in their control or in their authority. Nobody. Now you go to 51, that talks about the going to parliament with the CI to enable them to come up with the law to back that particular election in that particular year. All the rabble-rousing that is going on and all that, I want us to look at a resolution to this problem. Fisticuffs is not going to solve this problem. Calling her names, shouting, and all these kinds of things is not going to help us. I think that, for me, we must believe in our institutions. If the institutions are having issues, are having problems, we need to look at it and deal with it in our stuff, because it is the same political parties that are working with the electoral commissioner. You get it? Without the electoral commission, there can be no political parties. And without political parties, there can be no electoral commission.
Okay.
Do you understand? So clearly, I have full confidence in the electoral commission.
All right.
I will not go to Nigeria and go and say that.
Let me show you something. It's on the screens. It's going to come on the screens. The electoral commission, this is from the electoral commission website, and I showed this yesterday. The Asokori Mampon District Magistrate Court has sentenced one Usman Emmanuel, a Nigerian citizen and a resident at Swawaba, Kumasi, for falsely representing himself as a Ghanaian to acquire a Ghana card contrary to law. And I'm citing this because yesterday, the chair for the Electoral Commission said the guarantee system was fraught with multiple and they removed 40,000 people, etc. But we also do know, going by the own admission of the NIA, that there are people in possession of Ghana cards who are not Ghanaians. So the argument really doesn't hold.
It is a matter of opening our eyes wider and to make sure that those who don't qualify as Ghanaians don't come close to our electoral system. Do you understand? It is a matter of, it is because of the diligence of party agents who have managed to get these things. What about the majority of them who don't get it at all? What are the majority of them? This is 1 out of 1,000. We give them kudos for what they have done. But clearly, the NIA card, which has a guarantor system inbuilt there. So before you move out to come and vouch for Kofi, you know very well that indeed this is a Ghanaian. You understand? That you can vouch for. So in the application of these cards, it is our duty to make sure. That's the first step. And Kofi is saying that why do you rely on somebody's system to do your own? You must be able to build whatever you have. But it's another way of trying to save money and to make sure that, look, we work in consonance with one another. Why are the banking institutions trying to integrate the national NIA card with the banking system? Why are they doing that? Why is SNIT integrating
Kofi Adams?
Let me come down. I'm winding up. I'm asking you, why is the SNIT and the national identity card integrating? It's all good.
So my question then is, at what point in time should we then be having a position that we need to use the Ghana card system? Is it after 2024, maybe for 2028?
You see, I get worried when I hear people say the banks are integrating with NIA. The Senate is integrating.
Well, they are integrating.
Yes, so Electoral Commission should. The issue about the banks is that it is not about rights. The banks are not dealing with what? Rights. I can choose to keep my money in my house. I can choose to put my money in a susu. I'm not forced. I'm not compelled. It's not a right to enjoy banking services.
And it's not about voter.
It's not about voting. SNIT is not about any rights. You can have other system of dealing with what? SNIT. We are talking about right to vote and therefore be registered. So we should not be comparing with, because banks are integrating, so it's okay for Electoral Commission. We are saying, with the problems that we have with NIA, the fact that they themselves admit that as we speak now, about almost 4 million persons who genuinely qualify to have the cards do not have it. Let's take away assurances that we don't trust him. I don't trust the finance minister's assurances. You cannot make laws. They should not invite us to legislate, to make a law that will bar almost 4 million Ghanaians because you claimed you were able to remove 40,000 Ghanaians who are minors and what? Or who are not Ghanaians. That you remove minors. The minors in the 40,000 included minors. Those minors, it doesn't mean that they are not Ghanaians. Then you claim there are some who are not Ghanaians. So because of 40,000, we should pass a law that will deny over 1 million Ghanaians from having the opportunity to be registered.
What do you foresee?
Well, the Electoral Commission is planning clearly with the ruling party to rig the next election ahead of time.
Oh, how?
Yes! Elections are not rigged only on the day of voting. Deny if people don't enter the voter register. If they get denied genuinely, you are reducing the opportunity for them to vote. And normally, persons who are interested to register towards an election year in a party's second term are persons who are desirous of removing that party from government. So let's create bottlenecks that will bar persons from being able to register. So the more we reduced, the better for us. It's like if you have an open gate, more people will come in. So let's close the gate and let's only leave the window open. And people will be struggling to enter through the window. By so doing, we are controlling the numbers. And we think that the issue of rights to vote, which is enshrined in the Constitution, no law must be made based on what? Assumptions. 2, the Electoral Commission, like I was saying earlier, the issue of continuous registration that has already been captured in CI 91. I don't know if you have CI 91 there. You could check Regulation 9, 1 and 2. If you read it verbatim, that was what was copied into the draft CI that I'm holding here. They copied it verbatim. They didn't change any single word. It says, the commission shall register voters on a continuous basis. That's 9.1. 9.2. The commission shall, in consultation with the registered political parties, determine the modalities for continuous registration of voters. What it means is that even in this new CI that they are talking about, you cannot conclude on how to do the continuous registration until you have concluded an engagement with registered political parties. Roland, we have already had this engagement ahead of time. And that's why I was telling you, I was an active participant in that processes. The idea of the continuous registration is to complement the normal periodic registrations that we do, which happens at polling stations and also what? Electoral area levels. And that we want to introduce continuous registration, which will happen in the last week of every month at the district offices of the Electoral Commission, so that our brethren, especially who are abroad, when they visit home from time to time, can walk to the EC office and go through this process. And that is why we sometimes say that when judges want to interpret a law, they go to the foundational notes of the debates in the passage of that law, because that will give you the spirit and letter of the law. So you don't just pick it and say, oh, we have seen continuous registration. Continuous registration means that we open our offices every day, so this is how we should do it. No. Jean Mensa should not be so arrogant to think that she doesn't need to engage Charlotte Osei. She doesn't need to engage Dr. Kojo Afaridan on what led to the development of what? Continuous registration, leading to the passage of what? CI 91. You will have an understanding, and then you will see how to apply it, and not the way you want to do it. That will end up denying a lot of persons the right to what? Register and vote.
Roland.
Well, we have to go for a break. When we come back, we will ask the question. During the last time in 2020, within the period of COVID, when we did the compilation, there was, well, closure of borders, etc. Borders, Northern Ghana, Volta areas, Bono areas, and then the western side. Is there a possibility that there are some Ghanaians who still need to acquire Ghana cards, they need to get onto the register, and not on the register? And the way they are far away from the district offices, could there be an impediment then for which there needs to be some considerations? And what would the minority do if the parliament that has a side of the majority deciding to still side with the EC to have this approved? We're taking a break. We'll be right back and look at all these issues. Wow, so we're having some great people of Tamale watching us this morning. Mohammed Arif, good morning to you. Alhaji Ahmed T. Gomda, Hajia Sana, good morning to you. Desiba, and then also Dr. Abdul Rahman, Dr. Jimana, both of the Tamale Teaching Hospital, as well as Hajia Aisha Gomda. Desiba.
Is Desiba?
Desba.
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 No.
Desba.
No.
Nah.
Nah. But you wanted to make
Roland,
a point.
yes. My brother has accused my party that we are in collusion with the Electoral Commission to rig the 2024 elections.
How are you arguing
Unfortunately, that is not factual. And there is no way we can collude with the Electoral Commission to rig any 2024 elections. But let me take viewers' minds to a publication captured by CTFM on the 18th of November 2016, when my big brother, the former president, was in Funsi in the Wa East constituency. And with your permission, let me read. President John Mahama has rubbish claims by his political opponents that the Electoral Commission is scheming to rig the upcoming presidential elections for him. Some new patriotic party executives have on different platforms claimed there's a grand scheme to ensure President Mahama's re-election. But the president at the rally in Funsi, in Wa East constituency of the Upper West region, rubbished those claims, describing them as absurd nonsense. If you notice, in the run-up to the election,
which year?
There has been, this is 2016, November 18, there has been a consistent criticisms of the Electoral Commission.
And why are you reading this?
I am reading this to let Kofi know that all the accusation that he's making,
you have made it before.
Some people have made that before.
You mean the MPP?
And President Mama, these are the words that he used to describe this. And there's an underlying word. Let me come back to the word that he said that I'm so glued to. He says some of them have gone to the extent of saying the Electoral Commission is preparing to rig the elections for John Mahama. What absurd nonsense. Ghana's electoral system is one of the best in the world. Not my words, not in Africa, in the world, because it has inherent instruments to guarantee its integrity.
Which has been
It has its inherent instrument to guarantee its integrity, quote and unquote.
What's the point of
so the
this?
point that my brother is making here is not factual. There's no proof.
You mean
because you had opportunity. No. The point is that you went to court in 2020, and you went telling your supporters to go to the street to make noise, destroying properties that you have been robbed, right? The Electoral Commission has robbed you and given the victory to Nana Akufo-Addo and the MPP government. You went to court, and what happened? You couldn't even have leg to stand on. So please, when we are doing this discussion, we are doing is very sensitive and understand the information, the education.
Is it not true that the way the Electoral Commission wants to undertake this, that the continuous registration will have to be undertaken at centers, only using Ghana card, knowing vividly you two have also enumerated where we have distance distance between residential areas and where the district offices are, the lack of access to Ghana card, the precedents and the inactions of the NIA itself, despite its assurances, is going to disenfranchise many people.
I have established here that I would not support the sole use of the district office in the continual registration exercise, because when you look at the distance, but some of the constituencies geographically, they are so widespread. And for that matter, denying Ghanaians, based on Article 42, the right to register and vote will be problematic. And I agree, I share that concern that Kofi is raising here.
So that is why they are saying additionally, why don't you for this election at least use the guarantee system? Because even in the acquisition of the Ghana card, you still use the guarantee system. Please go ahead.
That is why in a way of trying to cure the abuse of the Ghana system, they want to come up with the Ghana card. So the discussions are ongoing. And he's just sharing with me that the Electoral Commission has refused to appear before the subsidiary legislature, because that is where the discussion, the referral of the CI was referred to, for them to look into it. And the fact that she's been unable to appear, I don't know if what I'm saying is the truth.
Even the CI itself,
you understand?
The CI itself has not been tabled yet.
Has not been tabled yet.
The usual engagements before the laying, it is done before the CI is laid
to Parliament.
Then the referral to subsidiary legislative committee will just be a formality.
So
just be a formality.
We'll get there. So let me take this opportunity and appeal to the Electoral Commission. Engagement is the best key. It gives people to take away their suspicions, the mistrust that they may have on you. Engage. But meanwhile, you're also a problem. You are outside and you are piecing in.
I don't understand.
What I'm saying is that they no more attend the meetings of the IPAC meetings. You know, even though at every opportunity, invitation is extended to the NDC. After every meeting, even though they did not attend, they give them copies of the minutes of these meetings. I want to plead with my brothers, the NDC. We can't do this election without NDC. They are part of this exercise. They need to come down, come to the table, and let us sit down and deal with the problem. For me, that is the only way we can go. So when you are outside and you are PC in, you don't want to come in. At the point in time, they even say that sometimes Jimenez's posture in the face is a way that you can't even see without a meeting. What I don't want to mention the name, but that is on a lighter side. Kofi, I want to appeal. Stop PC in. Come to the table with the electoral commission and everybody, and let's deal with the problem. And that would be far better than what your mama went and said in Nigeria.
Daniel, me, Kwate, Titus, Glover.
What are you drinking?
I'm doing aqua.
Wow. Please.
It's water.
So
it's plain, so I thought it was vodka.
He says that we don't have basis. My brother,
you see, his mischief.
Me,
Kofi.
Did you ever hear
that
a commissioner, for that matter, a deputy chair of electoral commission, until this current set of leaders came into an office, calling a political party as a threat, existential threat to a democracy before?
Who did that?
Dr. Bosman, deputy chair of electoral commission. If you have a deputy chair of electoral commission describing a political party that has won elections.
He was taken out of context.
How can it be taken out of context? How can it ever be taken out of context? And you think that we should sit here and celebrate those persons?
So are you not going to be part of it?
And I'm saying that you think that we should sit here and celebrate those persons who speak this way, and that when they make moves, they take steps that shows clear indication of connivance. We should not talk about it.
Fico, I'm not saying don't talk about it.
So
the fact that he has made some remarks that you may describe as unsavory or whatever, granted, should you not engage again?
And I'm saying that
you not go to
we
the
have
table
decided
and talk about the issue? Because the more you rely on some of these statements that you said Bosman has said something,
Daniel,
so you will not engage again.
Daniel,
you not come to the table for us to discuss.
This is the first time that somebody who is a deputy commissioner.
So what I'm saying is that if I've not heard it, this is what he's saying.
Well, he said he was taken out of context.
So please, Kofi, we need to move on.
I'm mentioning all your yes, please. And I'm saying that in the spirit of moving on, the NDC in 2021, when the Electoral Commission wrote to us that it was working to develop a CI, we thought the EC is come back home to behave like all previous ECs. So we nominated our rep through writing that Alhaji Hudu Yaya, as he has always done, will be our rep on the committee to develop this draft CI that will be taken to Parliament later. He went on the scheduled date of the meeting. They didn't have the courtesy to inform us that the meeting has been postponed Senator. He went there and they said, oh no, the meeting is not happening. If they fix a new date.
So you are not attending because of the actions of the Electoral Commission?
Until now, the Electoral Commission have not invited Alhaji Hudiaya, who left his contact and everything with them, only for us to receive this draft CI. How was it developed? How was it developed?
But the Electoral Commission is mandated by its
They are mandated, but they have always done so through a special committee that has the NDC, MPP, and other smaller parties representative and civil society on it.
Mr. Kofi Adams, if this is approved, what will you do?
Well, in the first place, it hasn't even come yet. And I don't think that Parliament of Ghana will approve such a law. Indeed, when the MPP...
If you say Parliament of Ghana,
yes,
what do you mean?
In MPP in 1992 boycotted Parliament. They never had a rep in Parliament. They were outside, spoke.
But now they have the numbers.
Listen, they were outside, spoke on certain issues. It was brought by Dr. Kojo Afarijan to Parliament, and that Parliament, with an NDC overwhelming majority that could have voted to reject the CI, because you need 2/3, decide that no, this is in good spirit. They always claim that, oh, we push for reforms, we push for reforms. If you are pushing for reforms and the one that has a mandate and numbers to accept refuse, the reforms will not happen. The NDC had the numbers to reject such a proposed CI, but they accepted it, brought about better ways. Today, we are telling you that this number of Ghanaians do not have Ghana cards. You have not given us any proof that people that you claim registered with vouching system or guarantor system did so illegally, and that it's been proven that they are not Ghanaians. The best way is to prosecute them. Indeed, your own form, the CI that we have here, the CI 126, which came to amend CI 91. If you look at the Electoral Commission of Ghana, the Voter Registration Identification Guarantee Form, beneath it, I solemnly swear or affirm that I know that Mr., Mrs., Miss is qualified to register as a voter at the above named registration center. I solemnly swear or affirm that I know that is qualified to register as a voter at the above named registration center. And should it come out as false, I bear the consequences. In the law, it's provided for offenses. One of the offense is aiding somebody to register who otherwise you knew was not qualified.
Okay.
Have they made any attempt to prosecute these persons, because their information is very well provided in the guarantor form attached to their registration? Electoral Commission has not done so. They are coming to Parliament with ESA, and they want us to pass a law that will ban many Ghanaians otherwise qualified from being able to register because they claim another person's system is more robust. How on earth would you want to make it? That's why they said in 47 that you always want to quote, or is it 46?
46.
That in the performance of their duty, they must not be under any control of anybody.
Now we have
to avoid all
we
these
have on
things.
the line the distinguished political scientist who has mentored, lectured, researched, written, as well as served. For example, as head of the Center of European Studies, the University of Ghana, with the Political Science Department of the University of Ghana, Professor Ransford Edward Van Jampo on the line. Good morning to you, Prof.
Morning.
Now,
Good morning.
Okay.
You are flowing me unnecessary funds.
Oh, Prof. Now, you've monitored the situation. We will talk about the unnecessary funds. I'll speak to you in private so that we try to judge over this. But you observed proceedings in Parliament yesterday, and then subsequently outside commentary, and I'm sure you've made your own commentaries or positions also known on this. The position that the minority has taken, what do you make of it? How do we all come to a certain agreement, George, all together?
Well, I think, first of all, it is good in terms of ensuring oversight of the activities of the executive arm of government for Parliament to bring to its house the heads of certain key institutions of state that also, even though are independent, are also part, in a way, of the executive arm of government. And it is good to have them appear before Parliament to be quizzed over their activities and things that are going on that people or members of Parliament want for them better particulars about. Even though some of them are independent, they are still answerable to the people, and they are still answerable to Parliament. And so it is good that they were brought to Parliament to come and explain some of the things that they were doing, particularly about the new CI that will serve to regulate future elections. So it's a plus for our democracy. I think that when the Electoral Commission and the NIA got in there, they tried their best to explain their side of the story. And the other side, Parliament also tried its best to quiz them. But I think there are certain fundamental issues that would have to be addressed, for the sake of our peace and for the sake of the need for us to protect our democratic gains that we have made. It is important for everybody to appreciate the fact that we have come far as a democracy, and we must guard jealously in preventing our democracy from relapsing. And so there must always be dialogue. There must always be consensus building. I think two fundamental things bothered me listening to them, even though they try to explain and to give all the assurances. Number one is the fact that it appears that the Electoral Commission has a lot of confidence in the guarantor system of the National Identification Authority. You see, in public policy, if you are introducing a new policy, you will try to phase out the old one gradually and introduce a new one. So you don't abruptly end the old one and then replace it with a new one. Otherwise, there may be challenges. Okay. And so I realized that the Electoral Commission has a lot of confidence in the guarantor system of the National Identification Authority. And I'm saying that if the NIA guarantor system is not robust, then the Electoral Commission may simply want to borrow from the system and allow it to run side by side the use of the Ghana card in the interim. And if they do this, we will not lose anything, but we will rather be preserving our peace. That is number one. Number two, you can see tacitly and sometimes somewhat brazenly that the two key institutions are touting and insisting on their mandate. We have the mandate to do this, we have the mandate to do that. But the point must be made that the mandates of the NIA and the Electoral Commission aren't more important than the peace of the country and the quest to provide universal address of age for Ghana or for Ghanaians. And so, in my view, any exercise of mandate that disregards the implication of such exercise for national peace must be must be taken a second look at, and we must not allow people to just hype their mandate to the disregard of the implication of that mandate on our national peace. And the other bit that I found quite strange was, you see, the whole activities of the NIA and the Electoral Commission, whether you like it or not, are also suffering a certain trust deficit from the people. People look at whatever they are doing with some suspicion. And so even if they mean well, people want to approach the acceptance of whatever they say with some amount of trepidation. Yesterday, I found something quite strange. You have a finance minister who is finding it difficult to meet the state's obligation to bondholders on time. You have a finance minister who is prosecuting a certain debt exchange program that attempted to dip government's hand in the savings and investment of ordinary people. A finance minister that keeps saying that, look, the nation is broke, and so when labor union goes to government for negotiations of better conditions of service, they are told that we are not in normal times, and we are suffering from economic malaise and economic miserization. Suddenly, the finance minister comes out to say that, look, whatever amount there is to pay for the Ghana cards, to be printed, the state is ready to pay, or they have even paid. I was quite surprised that so it means that we are not broke after all, or it lends credence to a certain suspicion that people have about the activities of the two main institutions and the governments of the day attempting to aid those activities. And I was quite surprised. So what I said was that, well, if we are not broke after all, then very soon Labour will engage government again in discussions of conditions of service, and we don't want to be told stories. because yesterday I was surprised with the alacrity with which the promise or the payment were made to the NIA. But the point must also be made that going forward, it's not about anybody being anti-change. Look, the use of the national identification card as a source document for voter registration would impact hugely on electoral fortunes of political parties. And so the only way to go about this in trying to give it or make it a reality is for us to dialogue and to build some consensus. People have raised fundamental questions. Look at where the Electoral Commission would want to ensure its continuous registration at the district capitals of the various districts. But it's time to forget that the district capitals oftentimes are located far away from the remote areas of the district that people cannot even afford 3 square meals a day. How do they afford the cost of transport to these district capitals and other? So many issues have been raised. I want to hope and believe that the Electoral Commission will not be intransigent, and the Electoral Commission will take some of these issues that have been raised in good faith and see the possibility of revising the CI so that it meets some of the concerns, it addresses some of the concerns that have been raised, so that at the end of the day there will be peace.
Okay, so if let's say I go to the editor of 3news.com and I say that Professor Jampo advocates for the use of the guarantor system to complement Ghana card for ongoing voter registration or continuous voter registration, I think that will summarize your view, right?
Yeah, it will be apt. I'm saying that it should run side by side in the interim, at least in the meantime, to the point that we are convinced that a critical mass of the voting populace have been able to secure the Ghana card.
Okay. Thank you very much, Professor Jampo, University of Ghana, great political scientist and somebody always contributing to us. I think the prof. He's worked with IEA.
He's worked with IEA.
He's worked with Jimensa.
And his position is what I shared right from the start, that if the EC says the NIA's guarantor system is robust, you adapt it, and the only reason they say so is that the commissioners of oath are present to administer the oath. Adapt that, and in your case, there is also presence of party agents. So it makes your guarantor system even more superior. So simple and short, your problem is resolved. And so we don't really understand. And NIA did registration at local levels. Now they are telling the same people to now come to district offices to pick the cards. It doesn't work. That is why most of those cards are still left there. Where you register the people, move your machines there, and invite them, let them come and do the verification and pick their cards. That is the other way of making sure that these almost 600,000 cards that are still sitting in their offices could get to the rightful owners. If you don't do that, and you continue sitting and saying, come to the office, that itself should be a signal to the EC that when you say you want to do your registration, only in the offices, what the NIA is facing is what you will face.
Okay, as we wrap up, and your last comment, it looks like it's the EC head alongside the deputy commissioners. They are trying not to listen to
I want to tell my brother Jampo that the labor unions have duly negotiated.
We are not talking labor.
Please. You tried to throw a jab. Let me respond to him. They've had their fair share. They've negotiated. They've had it. NIA has a challenge, and the finance minister said, whatever it takes for him to raise the money to pay their indebtedness, he's ready to look at it. So wherever he's going, I distance myself from that position.
Well,
whatever he said, he spoke so well. I mean, no doubt.
So you agree with him?
And the fact that we've all been talking about dialoguing, and the fact that where there are great areas.
No, he says that the Electoral Commission needs to use the guarantor system alongside onto a time.
What is wrong with you?
I'm fine.
Why are you so mischievous? Why?
He's summarizing what he said for you.
Why should he summarize for you?
Why
did he invite me here?
Does he speak for you? You said he spoke so well. Please. We are all agreeing on that. Kofi, and he's giving you the summary to confirm or deny. He's summarizing for you to confirm or deny.
How can he summarize for me? Am I dumb?
All right. Please.
Why?
Please.
So what do you agree with him?
Please summarize for me.
So clearly, I think that the EC must continue to engage.
You mean it must change its position?
She must engage, because that is the bottom line. We've come very far, and we want a situation where every party will come to the table, including my friends from the NDC.
We are on the table.
Don't piece in. Come to the table.
We are on the table.
Wherever the challenges are, we'll be able to.
And I'm saying that
I have confidence in them. They will be able to resolve.
So you agree? You agree that
you agree that to Nigeria to go and say different things.
You agree that Ghana card alongside guarantee.
Fine, no problem about it. No problem about it.
You see, I think this should be a headline for 3
Her own statement yesterday.
Honorable Titus Glover agrees.
Mischief. Mischief.
Well,
you never change.
Tema is former member of parliament, former deputy minister for transport.
Agrees with the inclusion of
Daniel Ni Kwate Titus Glover.
Come and let's talk.
Please,
we are talking.
Your chieftaincy name, the one you have 3. The one you like.
Which one? The one you like?
Dan Talgana.
Well, that's the first. That's the first.
And then also Kofi Adams, member of parliament for Boehm. We've had some great discussions. We've launched Ghana Month, and it's a month right here on TV3. We're going to showcase our tradition, our culture, how it has also interfaced with modernity. And we have some great discussions coming up. And I have to tell you that we also have a big correspondent. Great work done by Komla Kluche in covering the Nigerian elections. And it looks like now it's been concluded. Tinubu, the old man Tinubu, is now the president of the Republic of Nigeria. Federal Republic of Nigeria. And then also Abeku, his cameraman, the great work they've done. We have a compilation from there, and then when we come back, we'll have some great discussions right here as we mark Ghana Month, TV3 New Day on TV3.